Thank you very much. So yeah, I oversee the media asset management of the tour, which changed pretty much everything that we do at the tour. It changed a lot of different things. And what I want to do is, I know that there are some people here that have been doing it for many years, and there's others that haven't really been doing it too much at all. So I'm going to stay kind of broad. I'm going to tell you kind of where we were, where we are now, and kind of where we're going with everything. I don't have a lot of slides of drawings or that type of stuff. You can ask me. I can provide stuff if everyone has any questions on that. Stop me as I go along if you have questions. Some people in the back may not be able to see all the way up front with some of the details of what we have. I didn't know if I could go live with some of it, so I do have some videos as we go through. But as you see stuff, definitely stop me as I go along. Or if you want to move up, you're more than welcome to move up as well. So where we started, where we are today, and what's on the horizon. So this is kind of where we started with our asset management system. I know if Scott's still here, he was actually a part of this. There he is in the back. When we walk through our facility, you'll see the former entertainment library is now where our media loggers are. We had 19 shelves that were moving, and we had 122,000 barcoded assets. We still have the offsite warehouse because, as most people, if you're the rights holder, you have not thrown away any of your assets. We still keep ours. We also have offsite warehouse for our other stuff, Iron Mountain for our backup data tapes, but this stuff we're still keeping just to have in case. So 1985 to 91, we had the videotapes and we also had handwritten logs. That's the way we were back then. Not very efficient. And then we finally moved to a log producer, which actually was ASCII text on a single line, hooked up to a tape machine, where we could print the logs and we can go to a book and actually find the stuff that we needed. We would take the videotape, and wheel the cart down into the edit room. So 2010, this is where we are today. I don't know if you guys can see it all the way in the back there, but our system is made by Vizrt. Viz1 is the main guts of the entire system. Couple of key things for us, and if anyone that's actually trying to build a system, I would say metadata is key for everything that you do. And if you're planning on storage, you probably want to double what you actually expect initially, because within a couple of years, you're going to get more and more and more once people start using it. I will say this. I look at the transfer page in the last week, and I don't even know people that are actually using the system because we have so many people. It just started out with our building. Now we have our digital content team. We have CBS and NBC using it. We have so many people. We have people in marketing that are using the system. So it just keeps expanding and expanding and expanding as the years have gone on. So I'll focus on 5 primary areas: ingest, metadata, and logging, search and browse, distribution, and archive. I'll mainly focus on the search and browse for this group, just so I can actually show you what our system is capable of doing and what people do on a day-to-day basis. So just some overall information. We have about 80,000 hours digitized to date from the historical piece and from the new content. In the archive of the 120,000 barcoded items that we have, it's about 80,000 hours. So this is including the new stuff since 2010. We bring in about 15,000 hours of content per year. So overall, we have about 3.8 petabytes worth of archive storage, 5.6 million log entries in the system. So our ingest team, we have 5 full-time, we call them ingest. Our current commissioner actually didn't like the word ingest, so we actually changed it. They're all media archive specialists now. So we have 5 of them. Back in 2010, we brought in about 5,000 hours of new content. We're now over 7,000 hours of new content that we actually have. I would imagine by 2020, 10 years in, we'll probably be double of what we started with. We currently use Vizrt's channel recorder for tape-based stuff and the EVS for live. When we started out, we decided to choose one single codec for high definition and one single codec for standard definition. So we use IMX50 for standard definition. We use VC3, which is the DNX145 for high definition. For those of you that don't know, most media asset management systems, when you actually bring it in, you'll create a high res and you'll create a low res. Our low res is a 1.5 meg H.264 MP4 file. That file lives on our EMC SAN forever. What we do for our archive is we actually will back all of that stuff up to LTO7 tape, and then we also make a copy to go off-site. So we house every single one of our high-res assets on-site that can be accessed right away. So if somebody actually requests footage, it'll go and retrieve that LTO7 tape, spin it up, it takes a couple of minutes, and then it'll actually send it to an edit room, it'll send it to an EVS for playout or send it where it needs to go to. All partial file retrieval as well. With the Vizrt system, we use IBM's DB2 as our database, and we use Spectrum, which is their old, IBM's old TSM software to actually do the partial file retrievals back and forth for us. And then creating files, we use Telestream's Vantage to create. We have over 100 different file formats that we actually create for external clients or whoever else needs it. One of the other big things for me and my team is very hard to see, but what this is are different ingest reports. So at the end of every day, they actually document what they brought in. When they bring that in, it actually goes to an overall sheet that'll give us a daily report, a monthly report, a yearly report, and then a categorical report. So if I want to see information like, how many hours of melts did I bring in this year, or how many hours of telecast did I bring in this year, or how much footage did I bring in from PGA Tour Canada versus PGA Tour Latino America, I can find that out. It also gives us metrics on how much content we bring in for an entire year versus an entire month, so that we can always go back to justify needing more space, needing more archival space, anything like that, needing more people to bring in that content. I would definitely recommend doing that type of stuff if you're starting out, just so that you can keep track of it and actually justify your needs.
What are you tracking that in?
That is actually a superized Excel document that actually has a whole bunch of macros in it, that the one document that they fill out will actually go across to about 10 different documents. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Metadata and logging. We have two main types of metadata. Like most people, item level metadata is what our media archive specialists actually use. That's entered in by the Ingest team. That's basically your tour, your title, your tournament name, your network. There's an example of the 2014 Arnold Palmer Invitational Sunday. And then there's log track level metadata. And that's entered in either by the logger, or we have some automated tools as well that'll actually populate that information into the system. And that's where a lot of our granular searches come from, are the log tracks. Everything that we actually bring into our system now, as far as PGA Tour content or field footage, is all logged. If it's coming in, we log it live. So if it's a PGA Tour Champions Tour Web.com telecast, we're logging that live as it comes in. If it's field footage, we'll actually bring that in and then log it on a as-needed basis. So back in 2009, you saw our old logging systems, the handwritten one, and then the log producer. Now we actually built a customized one. Many reasons for this. One, you can actually see that we have a player roster on the left-hand side. People couldn't spell Markel Kvecchia, or they could. It would be 18 different ways. This one, we actually pull the roster from our ShotLink scoring system, and so the 140 players that are actually in the tournament that week are actually populated in there. So now nobody's misspelling anybody's name, they're button clicking it. We have a from location, a to location, what the camera angle was. We're getting all the information from the course so that we know that the 15th hole is a par 4, the 18th hole is a par 5, that information as well. We have a bunch of buttons on the bottom that we can actually we can change. 1 week it could be FedEx, 1 week it could be Coca-Cola, so that we can actually, if somebody from marketing wants a request to actually have, hey, can you guys actually log things for this tournament based off of who the sponsor is, we can do that as well. So one of the other things that our system actually is capable of doing is multiple log tracks. So we actually do use that Dixon log track that's in there. We can have the ShotLink data in there. We've been experimenting quite a bit with logo recognition, dialogue in there as well. So that as you see there's a bunch of different log. The green is one log track. The yellow line is another log track. So you can actually filter out of which one you want to actually see. So ShotLink integration, I'll show an example of this a little bit later on, but one of the toughest things with our sport compared to many other sports is that we have 18 playing fields. When you have 18 playing fields, 144 players playing. On a typical Thursday, 144 players, say they shoot a 70, you're talking over 10,000 shots. What makes air on Thursday is probably around 300 to 400, so you're talking maybe 4% of the actual shots actually make air, which means a lot of stuff is slipped. Nothing is in real time. We don't have the luxury of saying, hey, you know what? There's the one puck. Go ahead and actually use your data to be able to say what's happening on the course. Since a lot of stuff is slipped, we needed to actually do the ShotLink integration afterwards, meaning at the end of the tournament, we go in and say, hey, go ahead and grab, if it has these seven metadata criteria, go ahead and pull all the ShotLink integration, all the ShotLink data. So now I know, what the distance is that they hit the ball, what the distance is of, of the shot that they need to make. So like an example is a tee shot that was hit over 300 yards by a guy, or a shot that went in the hole between this yardage. We can do all that in the system now as well.
Hey, Mike.
Yep.
Are you throwing away the data that's not related to video? And if
From,
somebody wants to see that, they just go to the ShotLink?
Right. So what we do is, ShotLink stores all that in their database. All I'm requesting is if it actually has video associated with it. So what I do is I actually say, hey, these are the 400 shots that actually made air. Go ahead and pull in that data. And then what I do is I actually send them back a link saying, hey, here's a link to the low res in case you want to use it down the road.
If they're searching within ShotLink, it looks back in.
They haven't made that step yet, but that's their plan, is that I'm now giving them a link to a video that I actually have. So that's the way it currently works, is I'm only requesting what actually made air. Right, correct. And so now what we're also doing is, so we have melts, we have field footage. So when our field guys go out there and are shooting, say, a player for the entire time, we also sync that up with ShotLink as well. It didn't necessarily make air, but it was actually part of our field footage, so we actually sync that as well.
But how do you determine where they were on the course if it's an ENG crew? Is there any kind of notation that they have?
Right. So what we do with all of our producers when they actually go out on the course is they actually have to fill out a shot sheet. And so at the end of every day, there will be an email that goes out from the producer, and it'll actually be a shot sheet that'll actually say, this is the camera guy that I was with, this is where we went, and then it'll actually have, I was with this player at this hole, this player at this hole. Yep. And the same thing with the melts. We get the melts back from our network partners, and if you guys aren't familiar with what a melt is basically some of the best shots that happen that may or may not have made air. So if a guy made an eagle shot, and there were 3 cameras on the green, and maybe only 1 or 2 of them actually caught or made air, the other 2 will actually be on the melt. So they'll actually put a melt together. We bring that in, use their metadata that they actually provided, and actually link that up to our Dixon logging data, and then sync it with ShotLink so it actually matches up as well. Yeah. Still staying with the metadata, one of the other things that we actually implemented, there's a bunch of different things that you can do with our system and with APIs. It's an open API, which many people are using nowadays. We actually had a batch update tool that was created, and basically what that is our media archive specialists had a need to be able to update metadata on a global scale. So if they actually got something in and they wanted to change, say, 20 different items all at the same time, what you'll see is they'll do a search, they'll go ahead and click on what they want, they'll go and actually hit batch metadata update, and what it'll do is it'll open up a new window, and from there they'll select which ones they want, they'll be able to choose on the right hand side what metadata they want to change, and they will do just a global update based off of what it is. So that was new to our system just a few years ago when we launched Viz1. We used to be on Vizrt's RDOM system when we launched in 2010. We made the move over to Viz1 back in 2015. So now, for instance, I'm just going to actually go in and type in the tournament name and there update, and what it'll do is it'll update the entire thing. So on a global scale, it's much easier for us. At the end of the tournament, we can go in and actually say who the champion was. We can say a bunch of different things after that, as opposed to going individually into them.
Like, how are you handling legacy names of tournaments when they change?
Yeah, so if you noticed in one of the drop downs there, it actually said tournament number. So one of the things that we actually have, so say 060, I know on the PGA Tour 060 is actually the Tour Championship, but it's been called Tour Championship, presented by Coca-Cola, it's been Tour Championship, it changes names all the time, but I do know that the 060 will never change. So we have a tournament number because our tournament names change constantly. Yeah. So if somebody actually did a piece on Doral maybe a year or two ago, and they were running into that problem. They're like, I cannot find, it's the name changed so many different times. And so you can go in and actually do the same thing. There's a course number as well, course ID.
We use say for players as well, so you've got two players that have to have the same name.
Yeah, and the players themselves have their own ID as well. So they'll have a 5-character ID that are based off of who the player is. We have 32 players that have the last name of Singh in our roster. So, another thing to note about metadata and logging is we exchange metadata we use Avid as our in-house editing system. So this one's really hard to see for you guys in the back, but you can see on the top there it says title, tour code, material type, tournament name. That information will actually go across as well. So if somebody actually wanted to just look within our Avid interplay system, they can actually do some searching within there because that information will go across. Even though it's partial file stuff, they'll still be able to see it, and they'll actually see what the person named it as I sent it across. This is something that we've been testing out this past year. We've done all the events this year. As you can see, it's closed captioning. So we actually will upload a WebVTT file into the system. And on the bottom, there's a little yellow balloon. I typed in Dustin next to it, and every time Dustin was mentioned in the telecast, there's little markers there, and you can actually just go through marker to marker to marker to marker to marker to actually see all those. And you can, if you like it, you can hit the plus, and you can actually send it to where you want to send it to.
It may be worth mentioning, like, too, one of the reasons we kind of have that is our sources are backhauls, not fronthauls. So typically they are pre-captioned network captioned and after, because we're pulling the same feed the network's pulling in.
Right.
So we weren't getting captioning coming in on that feed before.
Right.
So we basically went the way to kind of go ahead and bring it back in on the backside.
Right. Yeah, one of the other changes that we made on Ingest this past year, our first couple of events with CBS was we switched to a fiber connection from site, and with that we eliminated the satellite, but we also actually are now getting our clean and our dirty feeds live. So we bring them both in live so that when we're logging it, you can actually take the clean feed. Most of our producers in our building are actually using clean for pretty much everything they produce. So we don't wait for Monday until the drives to show up before we can actually have access to the cleans and melts. And we're also sending the melts during the day as EVS operator's clipping stuff. He's actually sending it to a location that we're actually scanning and actually bringing back to site, bringing back to our office as well. So we have that post run.
So when they're logging the clean or the dirty, do those logs transit from, like, if somebody's logging the clean, does that log also apply to the dirty, or do you have something?
Yeah, so it does. So what we do is we actually log, what we do in our building is we log the dirty, because it has all the graphics on it, it has everything that they need. And at the end of the day, we actually just move it over to the clean. Yeah, and so it actually lives on the clean. They're exactly the same time code, same content. Yep. For those of you that may not know what we're talking about with clean and dirty, is the dirty feed has graphics on it, the clean feed has no graphics. It's the same exact content, it's just no graphics on the clean.
How are you handling time zone changes?
We used to ripple, meaning that once we got the actual footage back, we would ripple the log. But now, since we're actually taking both clean and dirty in our time, since we're not getting an EVS drive back anymore, we don't have to ripple anymore.
So you're just standardizing on Eastern time?
Mm-hmm.
At Ingest?
Yep. And just one last note on metadata and logging. All of the information is accessible through the API. We did allow the users to be able to actually do exports. People used to say, I want a printed log. Can somebody print me a log, please, of this so I can actually review it at home or do whatever, hand it to a client. So we do actually export it, whether it be in a CSV or an XML, so that they can share the data with the video that they send them. All right, so search and browse highlights. So when we switch over this system, our old system had a dedicated player. We still have that dedicated player, but we also now have a player that's built into the web page itself. We became very facet searching, if you will, and I'll explain that a little bit. But basically, what it is PGA Tour. You'll have Tour Code. You'll have PGA Tour Champions Web.com, and you can just click on that one. And I refer it back to the Cars.com commercial where you say, I want a red car, and it narrows it to search. I want a convertible, and it narrows the search. This is what the exact same thing. It's a live search. So when you actually click on a facet, it'll narrow its search down until it gets down to what you want to. We'll go over a little bit of item level search, multi-level search as well, and then a couple of other ones as we get further along. So this is basically our HTML5 browser. I would say the new people that actually start use this tool to actually clip stuff with when it regards to people at headquarters and when it regards to people on our digital team. Everybody else is using the old, people that are in our building use the original player that we actually had. So here's just a search, item level search, and I don't know how good you guys will see it in the back, but right now that one says 70,000. I'm going to click on PGA Tour, and that number will switch down to like 34 and change. The year, I'll click on the year, and you'll see everything go down to just over 1,500. I'm going to search for a tournament, and in that one, I just typed in AT&T, and now I'm down to 60. I'm going to hit material type and hit telecast, and then I actually hit network, and I'm going to choose CBS. And now you see I have 4 items left that are in there. And now I check clean, and now I just want to see the Sunday clean. And so now it brings me to the Sunday clean of that one. So that's the facet search I was talking about, where I just narrowed it down from 75,000 items to 2 items in a matter of a couple of seconds. This is the log. It's kind of hard to see. I actually did a search for just Jonas Blixt with inside of that item. You can click on it, you can play it.
One great wet shot now. Look, you can close the door. Teeth. And yes, Jim, the flag is lit at the moment. It's been gusting the last.
And this is just simply just clicking through the log and actually bringing up the item as you're going along. Yeah.
So, quick question on that. So you're looking at the clean feed there, right?
Yes.
What is that actually, as far as formats go? That's an HTML5 player that's built into that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that clean feed being packaged some way for, like, is that HOS or?
No. So, well, what we do is the clean feed that's that right there is we create the high res, which is the DNX 145, but we also just create a low res proxy, which is a 1.5 meg H.264 file.
Okay.
It's an MP4.
So that's just a progressive MP4 that's been loaded automatically.
Correct.
Okay. Cool.
Yep. So the MP4 files that we have live online forever. So whenever somebody actually calls up a video, it'll automatically go and grab the low res proxy and actually be able to play it. Yep. And then if they want a piece of it, so say this is a 3-hour telecast and you only want 15 seconds of it, they'll actually mark an in and out point. They'll go ahead and hit request, and it'll go off to our, if it lives in the SAN, it'll grab it from the SAN. If it lives on our LTO tape, it'll grab it from the LTO tape and get the high res. Yep. So this is one of the multi-level searches that we have. When I say multi-level, I mean that I can actually search across my item level. So I can search for a tournament or the year, but I can also search for a particular player. Like I'm going to choose, I think I choose 2015 there. So that 5.2 million log entries will go down to like 2,900. I'm actually going to choose a particular player. I'm going to type in Mahan for Hunter Mahan. So that right there is multi-level search from my perspective. What it is it's the year is an item level, and then the player is a log track level. And now I just said I want to find tee shots with a, I can't even see it from there. I think it's a rear view or front view. So now it showed me 17 tee shots of him in the front view. So we have a camera angle sequence in there as well so that you can actually do that. So what I'm doing is I just did a split screen so I can still search on the left or still look through my log entries on the left and actually just start clicking and actually calling them up on the right-hand side to see if that's the shot that I want. So I can go quickly through it and actually, if there are 17 of them there, I can quickly hit 17 of them and see if that's the shots that I actually want.
Hey, Michael?
Yep.
When you do that search, is the quantity an individual clip or is it the whole broadcast?
The entire broadcast. Yeah, so when we actually bring in, right, it's just a marker. So when I say item level, if it's a 3-hour broadcast, it's the entire item. We do the same exact thing with melts. When we get our melt in, we do not bring them in as a clip-by-clip basis. We actually bring it in as the entire thing. So a melt would be 45 minutes. It could be an hour and a half. Instead of individual ones. We actually will go ahead and bring it in as one item, and those log tracks are just markers that are based off of the entire 3-hour.
And that's loading really fast.
Yeah.
Are you pulling property on melts, EVSs? Are you pulling any of the metadata that the EVS operators are potentially putting in melts?
We do yes and no. We absolutely use their metadata, but what we do is we use it for our loggers as a reference. They currently, right now, their structure, they still limit themselves to the 8 characters because that's what EVS has. They're not using the IP director to log it. And so since they do that, it'll be either a 3, depending on the network, it'll either be a 3 or 4 character name of who the person is, and then it'll be the whole followed by the shot. So we use all that data, we give it to the logger, and the logger actually uses that to actually bring it in.
It's not a structure, it's operator dependent, so, you know, you kind of, but it's very helpful. For loggers who don't, if they got data, but it gives them a structure.
Right.
So they can go and put it in our format.
Yeah, that's why with metadata-wise, we went 2 ways. One of them was using their metadata for melts, and then we use the field reports for our ENG crews, which has helped out tremendously because now we actually know that, you know, the guys are on the 17th hole. Did I do this one? Oh, okay. So this one is basically, one of the other things we do is I'm actually going to go in here and look for a specific answer of somebody saying FedEx Cup. So I just looked up Hunter Mahan. So I'm actually going to go in there and try to find a shot of him actually saying FedEx Cup. So I just did a search in the answer field. I'm actually going to go in and type in Mahan. And then from there, I'm actually going to go in there and actually search for one that actually I want to use for my piece. And it's the same thing. You can click on that. It'll bring up a screen on the right.
You've played them all. You know that. You know you're the last man standing now.
Right. Yeah. It's it's a goal of every player every year to get through the FedEx Cup and get to the Tour Championship. And I got some.
So that one, really what I'm showing you is that you can go into specific fields and actually just search for specific things within each one of the fields. The find up top is a Google search. It's broad. You can do anything you want in that one. You can search for a whole bunch of different things within that one. This one is an example of searching the ShotLink data. We're actually looking for specific shots between 90 and 150 yards in this one. And one of the things that you can do is you can say, did it get in the hole? So one of the ShotLink metadata fields is in the hole. So it's fairly easy to find a shot from a particular player within in a certain range, just based off of that. This is fairly new to us. Certain people are using it. One of the people in digital that actually used it was looking for people missing putts less than 5 feet. So they actually put together something fairly quickly based off of just searching for putts that people miss between 0 and 5 feet. Nexidia, this is dialogue search. One of the things that we implemented through our API was being able to search for phonetic spoken word. This example is somebody's going to search for alligator. But what it does is it, instead of using, we do not log the spoken word. We don't log what the announcers are saying.
Alligator. So we know that we see some.
So we just did a search for alligator.
Box turtles.
Alligators we have on tour.
Alligator too. So people have been in.
Alligator when you see them on the golf.
Alligators.
So as you can see, it's a pretty powerful tool for finding stuff.
Come by yet to play with baby popcorn?
And then if you want to actually use that, you can go ahead and click and say export to Viz1. It'll create a log track within Viz1. And then you can open it up in Viz1.
Yes, I'm ready. I'm so ready.
And it'll actually have a log track. I'll uncheck the Dixon log, and there's the logs from that there. This is our tool that our producers in our building usually use here. One other thing is storyboard view. We have a lot of producers that'll have, they'll go out and interview people. And so they will actually want to see the entire log in one view. And so we created what's called storyboard view, another thing through our API. And what that does is it'll give us a list of everything that's in there. Question, answer. You can actually choose which fields you want to see. You can see all of them. You can just see the question and answer one. I just did a search for Mahan within there. I can also go back up and say Mahan and FedEx Cup, and now it just dwindled them down, so it's just showing me the ones that I actually am searching for. And then what they'll do from here is they'll actually copy that and put it into one of their rundowns. So just a couple of other things kind of towards wrapping it up as far as this is concerned. Task lists. We run, let me get to that slide. Task lists. So our media loggers and our media archive specialists, they actually run almost exclusively off of task lists. When a tape comes in, it gets added to their queue. They pick it up, they actually bring it in, they check off that they did. The guy that's in charge of the media loggers, he'll see that in the queue. He'll go and add it to one of the loggers' queues as well. So we can go into here every day. They go into this to actually see what their schedule is of what's actually needs to be brought in. We can also export that data as well to create reports. One of the things that we also implemented when we went to Viz1 was MAM over the internet. What this allowed us to do is tour staff can actually access it outside of our building now. So if they're out on the road, they can actually access it. Our partners can access it. We had people in Mexico last week. We actually have people that were up in Ireland that have used it. So we've actually had people from all the different places that use it. We do allow certain partners to have access, and through our access rights, we allow them to see certain things versus other people.
Where is that hosted? Do you host it here?
We do. Yep, we do. We actually host it here.
So when you say over the internet, that's kind of taking the MAM that you guys had set up, putting some sort of authorization bubble around it, and then making it public?
Correct. Yep. So now if I went home, actually, we've had instances where people have actually requested stuff from our footage licensing guy, and it was on a Saturday, and he was walking around, and he was like, uh-oh, he pulled out his phone, went and searched for it, and actually clicked send, and it sent it to site. So, yeah, it's definitely opened up a lot of doors for us. I'm just going to mention this one, Snapstream. It's another tool that we use within our department. It's basically off-air recording. Since we don't actually bring in off-air recording, we don't bring in ESPNs or Golf Channel or any of that type of stuff. We use this tool for internal use or for any other things. It's basically searching closed captioning. Our distribution, our fulfillment department, this is where we basically, anybody that requests stuff that needs to go out of the building goes through this department. So hundreds of different file types. We have Aspera for our international department. We actually use Signiant for our PGA Tour events. We use Aspera for Latino America and our PGA Tour Canada departments. Storage, I touched on storage a little bit. We have an EMC SAN for our online stuff, and then our storage is an Quantum i6K. Our LTO7 tapes hold 6.3 terabytes on one tape. We make a backup copy of it every single night of what's in there, and we send it off-site. So as you see, we archived over 800 terabytes last year, and we retrieved from that about 180 terabytes. We are just over 4 petabytes worth of storage in our LTO tape library. And then what's coming up for us? 4K integration. We've been shooting a lot of 4K. We actually archive that off on the side, not necessarily inside the system. We're doing an upgrade next month. We'll be able to actually have a little bit more advancements and actually bringing that into the system. We've been shooting a lot more VR stuff, virtual reality stuff. We're also recording that and keeping that on the side. One of the things that our new upgrade will bring us is having an H.264 as the main high-res file. So any of our GoPro stuff and any of the VR stuff that's shot with H.264 we'll use that in the system. We've already started a little bit of adding photographs in. We're going to probably do more and more of that over the next year or two. Our photography team is starting to digitize all of their photographs. The AI stuff I showed you before, where we're actually doing some logo recognition, facial recognition. We're still kind of dipping our toes in the water with that. And then some cloud stuff we're looking into as well for DR and business continuity. And that's it for me.